Yes, the Rebbe does that which are coming to explain why they need to be a pikach. Why does in the marshal first of all you have to understand why you have to be a pikach miyuchad. Why can't it be a regular person to choose the melech? The fact that the godless hamelech, the fact that he's the king, that means that he's greater than everybody else. Even a little kid knows that the king is a higher rank, higher position than the sergeant. So why the regular people, regular average people choose duchsin, gifrichim, stratilutim, and after pikach, yetzim nekal type of person, he chose the melech, the marshal. There was Meir the Mazber, the flow of the melech, and the melech is nicht verstanden, why he was that not going. And also, what's the reason? What's the reason of the pikach? It means that without a reason, so the kind of svara that even though the melech is greater than everybody else, we shouldn't choose the melech. We need a special reason. So what's the everybody else can be fired, and the melech is in the mischal. That's not understand. So first, the Rebbe starts explaining the guy with the nimshal before we get to the marshal. That the Rebbe asked me at the beginning of the Maimer, the lashon of the state of Medrash is that Yidden chose the Eibishter. Shebachru b'Hashem. The question is, choosing is only shadow as a selection. If there's only one, if you have two things, if there's no common denominator between the two things, and it's not a selection. It depends what you want. The person, if you don't know what you want, so that's also not considered b'chira. You have to decide what you want. But once a person, we're dealing with someone that's looking for an Eibishter. Looking for an Eibishter, the only true Eibishter is one. Everything else is la'alakeh, is sinyanim sheker. So what's that from Becher saying? What's the selection here? So the Rebbe Mamar saying that it's important. What did we get to? We ready to present a shtash l'charkach. We got to that. Let's say the first love. The first love was a toss. The seder advar is the if and the way the ashpa comes on Ma'ila to Nivraim goes through Mehutzai. This is mitzvahs. The Yibshah gives light or gives through the sun, the light with certain tzmicha. The tzmicha of certain payers come through the light of the sun. So this light comes through the sun, through the fact that the sun shines light. So it brings light itself comes to the world through the sun. Now there's different tzmichas appears, chayis that we get is through light. Meged, tvoy, shamish, and meged gersham. So there's meged, there's geshmak appears that come from the shemesh, and there's geshmak appears that come inside the yorech. So the mashpia in the world. So some of that thinks that the fact that the shemesh shines and has the quality of light is the shemesh's thing. She has the quality of light. The shemesh contains. She's the mashpia. So then that's there was a red. That's the way the Rebbe's mazber in this family. That's together with the zara. If someone thinks the fact that the shemesh has air, it's me'atzma. They were speaking about something else. The Torah's tradition was that they believed that, of course, the fact that the shemesh has any qualities comes from the Eibishter. But the pile, the fact that these qualities are transferred to the Nivraim, that the shemesh is the one that's giving over. What she has, that comes from the Eibishter. So someone that thinks the fact that the Eretz has the ability to matzmias machim, that's a special keich hatzimech, which is a maimer leki tachi. It's not a nivra zazach. That's a keich leki. This keich leki is invested and works through the Eretz. Obviously, got the sort of the pile, the shemesh, let's say, is about b'chira. The Rambam says yes, seichel das. I'm saying, but the shemesh wants, it could be menei dashpa. The light that the Eibishter gives it shouldn't be extended further. To be matzmiach peiris and all the other qualities the shemesh has, that's a keich leki, which the shemesh in Sadatzin does not contain this keich. But he's the one that's he's the transferees of the and he's the one that's transporting it. He's giving over the keich. So the wine is not the waiter's wine. The wine belongs to the Balabas, but the waiter is the one that's transferring it to me. So the transmitter. So if he wants, there's about that. If about chile, if will can herself and nishger. So that's called shituf. And that was the toast of the Deresh Hashem. They didn't think that the tzva shamayim has keich mitzadat. They believed that the keich that the shemesh has to be mashpia comes from the Eibishter. But they thought that the shemesh is the one, the pearl that's transmitting this keich. The Eibishter gives it the ability to light, and then it transfers it to the world. And if the shemesh wants, it's not going to work for us to be mashpia, to be ma'avir to the world. So it's hot b'chira. So when you have to worship him, the Rebbe says two things. First of all, they felt that mitzvah tzedek v'yesher, we have to thank the shemesh for being mashpia us, for willingly giving over the ashpa. And nachas the Rebbe's meisif is that they had a pnei. It wasn't mitzvah they didn't have a karas of gufa. It was the fact that they started thinking in this direction because they had a pnei. And they thought that if we're going to appease the sun more, he's going to be more interested to give more, and maybe he's going to attack and give more. That's what the Rebbe's Mavir business. Let's again say it to us. We're holding there, yeah? The Dugmas Melech Shemin Asar, that's one. Mizen Ishtar Shalachar, we're holding there. Mizen Ishtar Shalachar, Shalach Klaus, very good. Shechoshu, Shechazer Avai Yisrael, Shechoshu, Mazal. It's in gehalten, and Hag Yisrael is like that. You know, the Eibusha Bechlal has no, the decisions. That doesn't touch up that they believe that the Kerech HaEr comes from the Shemesh. I'm not going to use that language. But in gehalten, it's not like Chamra Lorna Tibus L'Shakar, where the Balabas is the one that's deciding to give wine to the people sitting there, and who gives the one that gives it? The one that gives it is the waiter. Zim Galton that the Shemesh is the one that's running the situation. She decides whether there should be light, whether there should not be light. She has full control over the way the world functions. It's not Nebish is not involved in the whole Seder of He created them. He created them and gave them the authority that they should be the ones running how the world functions. According to the Torah before, they're not running anything. But L'Poil, if they want, they could stop it from going further. According to the second, then they came to Torah's earlier, so that the aim is just too high to be involved in this katnos, what should be the weather of the year, or whether this person should get sun or shouldn't get sun. So he gave that up to the sun and the moon that they should decide. Was yeah, was nicht, they're the ones in control of the whole story. And Haggis Sabri is probably better. So that's where the Hechel is of Tos. Dugmas Melech Shemin Asar Hanig Samdina. The Agam Shezesh Kech Hanig Samdina. Prish Melech Min Yisrael. That's important to remember. The Rebbe attaches this also. In Parshas Advarim, if someone believes that there's a Metzius that he on his own has authority, that's a Nizar Mamash. So that's someone that believes that there's a Kadman outside of the Eibush, or there's someone that has power independent of Lukus. A Melech, which the Melech is a Melech at the time, but this person is the Sarda Eitzar Me'atzmi. He is the Sarda Eitzar Me'atzmi. The Eibush is the greatest being, then there's a lower, the Eibush has the Hechste Metzius. There's another Metzius, the Shemesh is another Metzius, which independently exists, and the definition has the authority to be able to give Shemesh to the world. That's what the Zard Mamash They believe that the Eibush created everything. But the Eibush created them in a way that they're the ones controlling the world. He created the front that they should be the ones in charge of how the world functions. Not just a being that should be programmed according to the way the Eibush is Mashpia. He created Metzius, which has authority. The Dur was like a Melech, that is not the one that takes care of everything himself. He divides his authority to others. He delegates He gives his authority to others. The Dur was Melech Shmir Asar Hanig Samdina. So Agam Shezesh Kech Hanig Samdina about the Melech of the Hanig. And if the Melech wants, then he could cancel the meaning that he gave. But look, what did he give him the ability to be in charge? To run the Achish Isman. And Haggis Samdina had their son. ואין המלך מסערב בזה, נובעת לפרוקים לחייקים של צבע גדול. So this is, if you want to attach it, everything's later in the artist, if you want to attach it up a little bit, when you get Chukei HaTeva, you have also the same type of mitzvah. You have the same type of To'usim. But when you speak about Chukei HaTeva, if someone believes that the fact that the water is Merabah Tzimai, or the fact that this and this, if you do kach v'kach, a person is going to have a good asik, let's say it's going to bring him a parnasa. If someone believes that the Eibush is one giving a parnasa through this asik, and therefore if the levush is going to be not a good levush, it's going to block that shva from going further, that's not derech, the first place. But if someone believes that the Eibush is not involved in giving a parnasa, he created a system, and the system is the one that decides whether you're going to have parnasa or not. He's not the one giving you that shva. He created the Eibush Mashafin that the Chukei HaTeva, they should be the ones that should be the resource of how you're getting a parnasa. That's the second Torah that I said. The Eibush created the sun and the moon. He created Chukei HaTeva. He created a system, which this system is what's in charge to decide before the kriks and what the kriks say, what the kriks nicht. So that's the second Torah that I said.
The second Torah believes in this, yeah. This
the Tzeirat God. The Melech is not involved in the Medina. So Tzeirat God gets involved. Trying to the It's below his dignity to get involved. The Melech is Melech and hiring. It's a special need. That Tzeirat God, there's something that's on his caliber, so to speak, then he gets involved. This is this two in there's different nuances there. The Ram sagt das da steht noch ist der Rebbe zu der Sache. Ich schreibe das schon muss er kennen, das ist bei schon Kodel Kai. So Nechom is a shnei asim. So you have to see Arat 1 just to understand the Nekuda here. Bechlal, there's two Yisurim. That's already based in Nigla, but someone said they brings it down to the Sefer, that a guy is Muslim of the Zaros. A guy is not allowed to believe in Avodah Zarah, is not allowed to serve Avodah Zarah. But Shituf, the mitzvah of Ayah Echad, it does not Ayah. A guy, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. A guy does not have the mitzvah of Yichud. What's the difference in Yichud and Avodah Zarah? Avodah Zarah means that the Eibush is the only God. So what's the Hashem Echad? It's also the Eibush. What's the Nafkim? What is a guy? What is Nichlan Hashem Echad, which is not included in Avodah Zarah? So in Chassidus state, this is from Yura, but the Nekudas Advarim is, with the Rebbe's Mavar in this manner, is that Avodah Zarah is someone that believes that the world is being ran by Kechav and Mazalis. Even if you believe that it was created by the Eibush. This is from Shittas, that's what I'm saying, but the way there is Mavar in this manner, based on the common games of Chassidus, if someone believes that the Eibush created Nivroi, and he gave them authority, that's Avodah Zarah. Hagam, you're not saying that they're a Kadmon. You're not saying that they independently exist. You're saying the Eibush created them. But he created them, and their function is to lead, to be in control. The Pelam is there in control. So you're relating to them a certain trait of a lukus. You say that they're in control. That's a Avodah Zarah. You're saying that there's another Metzias which has a trait of divinity, of get effect. Even though he's not a Metzias, he's not a Mechuyev Metzias, but the Mashach. But the Eibusher created him and delegated, so to speak, certain degrees of control to this Nivra. That's a Avodah Zarah, according to this man. According to some if someone believes that they have no control, they can't decide who gets here and who gets not. They can withhold from being here. It's the b'chirasam whether they're going to carry out the tzibur. So that's called shituf. They don't have the authority to decide how much hashpah should be given this, how much hashpah should be given that. The hashpah comes from the Eibush. Like by the wine with the waiter can't give, as the wine is not his. The wine that he got, if he wants, he can hold it back, or he's going to give it. But the wine is not his. According to they have no real control. The ashpah has no yachas to them. They can only withhold things. That's very limited period. So that's not Avodah Zarah. That's shidduch. The player said that the Eibush runs the world. The siyua is someone else. That's shidduch. So the Rebbe is not that chiddush. Gemara state that even if they have Avodah Zarah, they're called Elokai. So in Pashat, the Gemara is speaking about if they have Avodah Zarah, which they serve getches. And after the Zotman, the Gemara called that the Avodah Zarah called the Eibush or called Elokai. But the Rebbe is saying here that also the shit of shituf is also nichal al kol lekai. Both they found. There's Bishlem the session was seven periods in Zorah Shem. Nichlogim is a shnei asim. We'll see the attached up about. Shigam elu shechayishim sh'oz avay sarz dekachol mazalos. The pasaf kol saf keren neis is Zorah Shem al kol lekai. Neis is a she's brought a version. B'shalat alei. If you want to get cancelled, there are samples. In the gam b'zem kufa shakum velekaya. The fact that Yesh Lemkeach, Hanik Yisrael is Lashpia, well, they said Atzmai, Shegesh Baruch Hu Nas Lemkeach. It's not that the Shemesh Mitzad Atzmai has the authority to be Mashpia. The Eibush is the Lemkeach. The Dugma Sari HaMelech Shemanhik B'Samdina V'Reisha HaMelech Minei Samasa. The Meila then Mini Gufa is Nevea from the fact that the Eibush gave Lemkeach. It's not standard that there's the reason why the Lokot L'Kai is the Eibush is higher than them. That's the Pashta Pshat. One Pshat Lokot L'Kai is the Eibush is the greatest, and they're a lower degree of greatness. So the Rebbe said, even according to this beer and this mind, that a lower level or an 8 level of Avodah Zarah. Not that you think there's another Messiah that has independent qualities but lower than the Eibush. You believe that whatever he has comes from the Eibush. That's also Nichlal. The Eibush is called Elokod Elokaya. It's much stronger in a certain way Elokod Elokaya because the fact that they're Elokaya stamps from them because the Eibush gave them their Elokaya. The fact that they're haben sich a tchun of Gedek as they should give to them. So that's all called Elokai. Dugma Sare and Melech Shom Hikim Samdin and Frisha Melech Minei Samasa. Was er inza. Leito Gam Ato Shashav Shish Pamer Kadosh Baruch Hu Adei Gechol Mazal Tzvi B'chirosam Nichla the darkness Baruch Hu Elokai. Hashem the darkness. Even this considers it's the darkness in Avodah Zarah. Because this etzim ki gam zeh shechem asas kir tzayin and Magnin Shal Elokai. It's bedakas because they don't have real control. Let's say when they get to the waiter, He doesn't have real control. He could go against his job. He could go against his mission. His mission is just be a transmitter. He doesn't really have control. But the fact that he could be meneh dashpa, that also means that they have a certain level of power. And that's also the darkest considered alakai. This power, they weren't, this is not a power that they have. Their inyan is to be a transmitter. That's their inyan. They're not sheltered, according to this one. But the pearl have to work. And the fact that they could not work, even though we consider you a worker, but the pearl you could not work, that's considered a certain shlita in the darkness. The mela, shlita is a get with a trait. The mela you could also call shituf alakai. What's that from the Zogin? From Trachim, but this is what the Rebbe is saying. The Rebbe brings right in order 23. Avachol, sin alakot alakai, rak lila chesh, mazal esaras, v'tekichov mazaldis, mashikin atel shem al b'chirik, and forish ba'am saying order 20. So the Rebbe is saying a chiddush here. It's a chiddush. That even the second suk is also nichel alakot alakai. The fact that they can do whatever they want, that's in of shlita. Shlila se'inin d'lukim achirim, mitachlis, so dafka the yedish kol saying like you guys have the chitz. What's this negeh Zogin? Why isn't again this whole luminous that even that the fact that they have chila is a gather of shlita, and shlita is l'kim achir and metachlis is dafka through the idea that everything is nothing has any. Why isn't again for the Rebbe to bring in that even shituf is also it's not that there's a avodah zarah and there's a mitzvah yichud. I mean, Pashto this is avodah zarah is that there's no other getlichkeit, there's no other divine power outside of the Yibshter. Not only power, divine control power outside of the Yibshter. And yichud is that the Yibshter is one. So what's one is he doesn't even have helpers. Here the Rebbe is saying shituf is if you're not sheilu shituf is not only it's not you're not sheilu yilchol k'machedim is actually. But k'machedim means that there's no one else has any control. The only one that's the one which is everything is based on everything else's tools in his hand. To be sure that the tachlis dafka the idea that kol mitzvah nechigas ne'elachitz. What's this negeh catching that?
Doesn't bring up the pickles more.
Why do you have to say? The Gemara uses the term of lakot to say two things. The Rebbe is saying that usually the shlila of this tos is a shlila not mitzad l'kimached. Li'ilachal l'kimached, which is avodah zarah, guy is also muzar. Then Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. What's that shayla? It's actually mitzvah chiyut. What is that shayla? More than li'ilachal l'kimached being shayla. Didn't have shituf. The Rebbe is saying more than that. If you believe in shituf, so to speak, you're missing. It's not the tachlis. Didn't have li'ilachal l'kimached. What's the Getzulik?
The yichud is not shayla any more than avodah zarah.
This is the darkness. I'm saying is yichud is for sure shayla more than avodah zarah. Avodah zarah literally only is kailu the first house. Shituf is, but the Rebbe is saying here that even shituf is bedakas avodah zarah. And if someone was neglecting shituf, it's not leilachal k'machir. Why is this negate? The Rebbe is saying that having b'chira, whether to give over the thing or not, is a certain level of power that you have. And giving any type of power, the fact that you can make a decision not to give, you can't decide who should get where, what, but the fact that you have the ability not to work and not to give is a certain power that you have. You have a certain role. A certain role equals shlita equals alikim achir. Shlila alikus is not only that it's looking under the Eibishter, there's no other one that has authority no one that has any power. If you lead it to something that has any power, it's not the shlila alikim achir metakas. That's metakas v'dizah.
So the end of the matter is that Giluim
Everything has amshos. That's the one.
No. The other matter is that even Giluim wanted to use Pedakas or whatever. No?
Yeah, that's the Rebbe saying the same. The Rebbe saying that the Tos is there from that. What was that? Then the Rebbe adds another word. So according to Tona, the Rebbe explained two levels of the Tos of the Umasayla. One level of the Tos is that Schola was that the Nivroim have Bchira, the Shemesh V'Reich have Bchira. The second thing was not only they have Bchira, they're the ones in control of how much, what, the whole Manhag Yisrael was telling them. Not only that the Eibush is the one fearing, but since it's through them, they could withhold Ashbal. It's more than that. They have authority. So now the Rebbe leads us out. פי זה, יאב שלו בער פיקחוס, יש איזה שאמרנו נעשו מלכה, והנמשל, זה שישראל יהיה מסיימס. נתח נמשל. נמשל, זה שישראל יהיה מסיימס, שכל הממוצעים שהיום בהשפעה, אם נגיד אז מלך העצב, כמובן, סתם סבינו במונה. זה עניין of גדול הדס. שאמרי מספנימס. About Das haze that he doesn't get, there's the Metzias the way it appears to be the Chitzenis. What does he say? What's the text of Pikach? One of the say, what's of Pikach? A regular person sees the Metzias the way it appears to be. I see something and you evaluate according to the way what your eye sees, or what's the way the Metzias appears to be the Chitzenis. About Das means that he sees the depth of the Indian. And he doesn't get the spell from the Tzir Chitzeni of the Indian. He sees the Erika Indian. That's a regular person, say a regular average person means, regularly you see the mitzvahs, you define and you compare things based on the way you see things. There's someone that understands deeply what the Eibishter is. And the fact that the Chitzeni is doesn't change the Akonabur that he has in the previous. And the Melika, he knows that the Eibishter ain't saved, and the Eibishter is not defined by anything. What's Sepes, we'll have to see what the beard is. Why get Latas to show these tools? But I'm saying, what's the word of a pikach? Pikach is, he sees a deeper layer than the average people see. We say the regular Muslim having Gedel Adas. A man said, a pikach said he sees the previous. And he doesn't get deterred by the chitzenis. Now, what's up to the previous? That's all. Maybe the Yibshah gave them chirka, wasn't it? The Yibshah decided he gave a little bit of his control to the but the Rebbe is not another word. Interessante Sache. Das geht aber rasch, Shemrei ist Apnimis. Shani Bechitzeni ist der sehr Shashpo, ja, der Chod Mazol, so knish yesh beim Mayer, shiri mitzad zei guli bli yisim mitzayim. Sehr שישראל jedem schon הגז מלך עזם, זה geht aber rasch lehen. מה הרבי אמר כאן? Was der Rebbe sagt? Bechitzeni ist weißichais, das ist Bechitzeni weißichais, ist ja auch Mechir. Nicht das steht. Bechitzeni ist weißichais, the fact that they're Memutzoyim. Why is it Mashpia Chayis through the Shamash V'Yareach? Because they have a mile over the Nevroim Adachtaim. And therefore they're right. That's the mistake. B'chitzenis, it seems like, why is the Eivish Mashpia Chayis through Tzva Shemayim? Through Malachim and through Tzva Shemayim, the sun and the moon. Because the Rambam is saying they're attacking Nevroim Mulim. They are higher degree Nevroim. So I'm And the Rambam says the Bali Seichel, the Haskell, the Chaymer is more evil. So, Bechitzenis, the fact that they are the Mutzoyim is in Southern Island. You know, someone comes into a place and he sees the Pashter mention, then there's Grace mention, and the Ashpa of the Melech goes through these big people. Why? Because they're greater than them. But what does it do with the Rebbe spoke before? Who fought the line the fact that they're greater, the Bechir and not Bechir? This is what's in Bechitzenis. The same Bechitzenis, that there's Bechir, it sounds like that it's not the Yisait for the Torah of Bechir stammt von der Torah. Stam is it, how do you know he has Bechir? The Eivish is Mashpia. The Eivish created the waiter in order for him to transfer the food to the people. Why would you think that the waiter has Bechir to block it? But in Ephraim, so the person the owner is not going to bring the wine himself. So he needs to have a waiter, and the waiter has Bechir. You can have a robot soon, but the waiter has Bechir, can up. Mashiach in the Nimshal, the Eivish created, according to the first day, the Eivish created Shamash V'Yareach to be the one that transferred, not the second Torah that the Imam Nazi, to transfer the Indian. So why should we think that the Bechir could be Menei the Indian? So it doesn't say that Bechitzeni is neder that they have Bechir. So Bechitzeni is that the reason why the Eivish chose people is because they have a mile. And Mashmos is that equals that they have Bechir. You just have Kennst du nicht? Huh?
That's how you explain the Sefer in the back.
That's what he explains?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
You sure?
I think that's how we understood.
That's
how we understood the Sefer in the back.
Huh? Has it shit
Yeah, in his.
Is it printed here?
In page. Page 112 in his Nigum Tar 92.
הנה זה מתחיל, אנחנו יכולים שנייה לשם. זה זה פמידה, מה זה נשמע שאני said there's upward. It says a little different. But I remember where I heard this from, that you say, that you what's the Yisef? You say you want a certain person, this person is a good artist. So it also says, why are you using him to be Mitzvah the tzir? Because he's to write, to make this tzir, because he's a good artist. So if you're going to force his hand to be Mitzvah, but the Sari Yisrael does that, he has to be interested. If you want them, it's at their quality, then you need their involvement. Eb says it, but it's not such a good beer that if the Amish created them, I'm saying the Shad is, Bechira is not a given. If you have Seichel, it means you have Bechira. The Amish created them with qualities, and they were created in a way that they're programmed to do why would they think, it's at the mile of the Shemesh V'Yerech, but the mile is saying according to the Sfar of Umas Ha'elam, so people have Seichel. The Shemesh V'Yerech are even higher, because how they have had the Seichel? But really you need their involvement, you need their Metzias. Oh, I like to say the word. They say that Torah says, why would you think of that? Because the fact they should use them as a mamutz is because you need their milas. You need their mila. Part of the mila is they're higher than people. Part of the mila is that they have seichel v'das. So in mila, you can force them to stuff that they can't see. You need to have their involvement. It feels like Islam, you know? He says a little different. It's like the same. She says it in a more. He says it in a different way from a little bit. See what he says. It's another word. We could know what he says, the Zeich Mishmas.
112, is it?
Huh?
Page 112.
בזמין זה שהשווה יבהיר עדיין מוצא מצד מעלוסם צריך גם להסכמוס. בזמין דבר. He means a blemish in Schash. He's saying a different word.
He said if it's Messiahs, then I'm listening.
Yeah, if the fact that the Amish is using them is because they're Maila, so then the Maila, that's power. He's saying a different word a little bit. What he's saying is al derech. He's saying that they get to the nefesh and the yivar. So a person is able to see. No one's going to say that the eye, the aver of the ayin has the ability to see. From the psar ha'ayin, or the fact that a person has the ability to understand comes from the psar ha'mayach. The nefesh has an ability to see. Keichari is a keichari which comes from the nefesh. The poil, in order to see the regashmi, it has to go through the levush of a physical eye. You need a keli gashmi, which, however way it works, transforms the keichari or ruchni to be able to see the regashmi. So why the poil? Why after the ayin and not a psatish? Because the ayin is a keli to the keichari. Shaking a physical table is not going to be. So for us, after keichari oncomes the ayin. There's a certain chisar that the keichari has, and not chisar. Keichari is a keichruchni. In order for it to see a davar gashmi, it needs to have a mutzah. So it has to have a mutzah which has the ability to be a keli for it. And so now the pearl that Tavat Tvarim is, if the clear ayin is makul, it's going to block. Even if the keichari is a full, complete keichari. But the pearl, in order for it to see the davar gashmi, it needs also the traits of the physical ayin. If the ayin is going to be broken, but this is game. Hagan, no one's saying that the ashpah comes from the ayin, or that the ayin has the ability to make the nefesh choose. You're not going to say that whether I'm going to look or not, everything comes from the keichari. It's not like the second thought that that everything comes from the psar ha'ayin, not from the nefesh. Everything comes from the nefesh. The fact that you have to see is because the person decides to see. But in order to see the regashmi, you need to have the ayin because there's a certain quality the ayin has that the nefesh doesn't contain. What's the quality that it's able to transfer the keichari to the regashmi? Once you need it for a quality that it has, so if the quality is better, it's going to work better. So the ashpah is very dependent. Once the ashpah is dependent, that's the same mohos as saying that it needs bechira. It means it plays a certain role in the ashpah. Not in the sense of giving the ashpah, but not in the sense of the guf ashpah, but in the sense of transferring it. So in Svar, it's not so far to say they have bechira also. They can block the ashpah. It's that's the fact that they have a mitzvah that they're a ma'ila. They can block the ashpah. What he's saying is that the musik of ma'ila and the musik of bechira is the same idea. That's what he's saying. He says, why is the Rebbe menasech in this eifin? Because there's bechira. That's a technicality of bechira. We don't see what it's saying is that bechira. But the same concept of bechira means they have a say. So the ayin has a say in the ashpa. The ayin has no choice, but he has a say. So the gabi, those nevroim which have bchira, the more hamchashadik way of saying they have a say is they have bchira. But it's the same with saying that they have a male.
Also on the bottom, he says we said before.
But this beer that I heard, I also heard from not from, but I'm saying Sudas as I'm on the It's not
The middle of somewhere.
Huh?
The middle of somewhere. You big is over there. No, I'm saying in the Bill's reference.
Yeah, that's the fire. Why the good doesn't understand it. That's for sure. That's a beer. That's a pshat. I'm saying that's a pshat. But the question is, how does Mila connect to Bchira? So he's saying that it's not two different inyanim which one brings to the other.
What's the same?
Like the beer that's before. It's the same concept. The concept is that they have to say. Whether say they have to say it, therefore they can choose to stop it, or they have to say it because we need them. It's the same almost, same meaning. I think you'd be aware of this, that when you get the kechari is going through the eye, the pile of the eye can stop the ashpa. Not because it has bchira. If there's a kilkul in the psara eye, but there's a shkein. But it's the same nikud as bchira. The pile, you need this, you need a memutze. You need a memutze. You have to, the nikud you think is chashel memutze. Punkt the shemesh has das, so we're using bchira. The word is not bchira, that's what you're saying. So you have people that are, because they want to zalzem beser, they're going to forget about the nefesh, or they're also going to deal with the eye. That's going to be Ezgal. You're also dealing with your psar eye. This also plays a role. And that's the way it looks for Chitzenis. The Chitzenis, it looks like if someone's going to say, does the nefesh need the eye in order to see? Avad does it. And you can be able to explain it. The Chitzenis comes to the that comes through Malachim, through Svashamayim, that comes to the heavens. We need to have, in order for it to be light in the world, physical light, it has to go through a Zahech and Nibra, like the sun, which that's transferred to Ashvad in order to come to Gashmas. So what's the Yidden's Geil Adas? The Geil Adas is the Eivish Nefesh Shalom comes to Kenish. The Eivish is ain't safe. He doesn't need anybody and anything. He decided to be mashpia in a way in this life. Doesn't need. There's no need. And why is it about there's no intrinsic quality in the sun. He created the system in a way that the way it appears to be is that Ashpa comes in a seder of Eres V'Kedem or Trum Mutzayim. In the world, Ashpa goes like that. The Eivish alone is Mashpia such a but not because he's limited that he has to have in the Seifel. Kach Oliver Tzedek for the certain mile that Ashpa should be in such a tzir. Which the Rebbe is not discussing this time, or what the previous of the Oliver Tzedek should be in such a saying it's not because the Eivish is forced in such a sefer. You have the Mashal Nefesh, Kens and Bar Gashmi Mechel. He decided that the fact that he's able to see Bar Gashmi should go through a tzir of an Ayin Gashmi. And the Ayin should be a in the whole system. It's nothing to do with the Ayin. It's his Yecheres to be able to see the Gashmis. Okay. So this is actually so that's two things. First of all, Yidden see they see the depth of a Lukus, not the way Lukus looks like the way the Lukus programmed the universe. And not only they see the depth, and they're not deterred by the Chitzenis. They understand that the Eivish is nicht mobile, the Gewalt has it. More beautiful, that's the good.
The first way of explaining the Mile and the Pigol is that also Nikolonel Kalokar? The Pickles that they don't even have a mile, that's also would be part of the Kalokar.
According to the first beer.
So we first explain that they have a mile.
You can say that it's a lower dark. You're saying according to that beer, it's a shtash. I'm saying could be right in that you're saying a siyua to the Bill's pshat. Yeah, it was said it. Huh?
You made us coming for a second.
No, I'm not saying. Even I'm saying. It was common. I feel versteht das as jeder versteht. Not that the Chibur needs to have that common. So even they understood it. Nicht das habe ich gedacht. Okay. Oh, but the shaila is this is very nice. But so if I say what's the mash? The Medrash brings a mash. If this is the pikhus of the Nibsh, if the pikhus, the reason why the Medrash says this whole we don't understand yet. The Rebbe just mavar. Why do you have to be clever to search the? Mavar that. B'chitzenius, I never say the first thing is the Metzias, the way it appears to be B'chitzenius, is more on the side of Umasayim. You have to be able to see deeper in Metzias in order to believe in what he means. Every Shlava there is important to know. It's not every man is like that, but it's not like they're ever saying Havim. The way they say the place in Apulpul. So bring the Havim in, and then we're Deichit, then we start another beer. Each beer, these are truths. I'm saying each Indian is a. The Rebbe was made darga. The was with that uncle to special in Yonim in order to believe what he believes. See, the Pearl, this is also an Indian for itself. The Someone says the Metzias greatest B'chitzenius is nice and welcome with this. The Eibush created the world in a way that B'chitzenius, it seems like the Elokust works through certain systems. But if you're going to go with the Chitzenius, come and Atosa, come and give Vayta. That's the first thing. A Yid sees a deeper layer in the Metzias. And he's not a spoken, there's nothing wrong coming to that. But the Shaila is, the Mashal is the Mashal of him. מזה שהשני ומשל הזה מלך ודוכסן אף שהמשל דוכסן בעל הבחיר שלכם מסתבר לי here says שהבחינה בעל דוכסן נעשה דוכסן יחיד הליגרים שהשפיע יסוד האלה שבחר בה ותולי כבא נמשל שהבית עלה כל מיני תמל לזכם מאחר שאינה בעל הבחיר in the Mashal דחניש לזה in the Mashal the one that shows the דוכסן ever since the דוכסן תקה הבחיר so the Rebbe's been saying already another Indian that they didn't speak about before. You say a melech comes to town with Sar and Dursen and Statilutim, so the melech is greater. The Rebbe say, like, what's going to get? The melech is greater. The person wants to get more ashpot. So the melech, he's the greatest leader of the city. You say that someone wants to be able to, he has a backyard and he has his daladamas and he wants his Messiah should be his after. He needs a king. You're going to be in touch with the president, the greatest president. So maybe he's going to help you when you're the garbage you go another day a week. It's not going to help for that. For that, you have to be close to the manager of the sanitation. So in the Mashal Tak, if someone wants to have more ashpa, it makes sense to choose the Dursen and these Statulut. Mashiach and the Nimshal, they're garnished. So the beer that Rebbe spoke now, it's Rebbe's not saying that's not a pichus. It's not a pichus. But that's not nicht in dem besteht the uftu and the reason why the mile of it. Nicht in dem nekudah. Because that's why the Medrash brings a mashal. The mashal is to bring out that the mile of it is not that he understands the Metzias right, that he's searching for something. The beer told us the mile of a yid. You can have a yid and a beer both searching for the same thing. We're both searching for ashpa, to live a good life. Sachakol makes a mistake in seichel. A guy made that in order to have a good life, you have to be in touch with the Sar and the Dursen, with the Shamash there. And a Yid knows the truth. You want to live a good life, you have to go to the Eibshir. They're all happy about it. But Yamut Kumta is, if das, what's called Yamut, what's the Meile? Is Avna Besser Rakab, if you want to use those words. The Rebbe wants to read the reason why the Medrash brings the Mashal is to tell you that the reason, the Meile of Yid over a guy, is not a question, not that they're both looking for the same thing. The guy just makes a mistake, wrong calculations, where are you going to get the good thing? The Chatchila, their shtel is different. What they're looking in life is different. Their focus is different. That's why it brings the mashal of the Sar and the Duchs. By the Sar and the Duchs, if you're going to choose the Duchs and the Sar, your life's going to be better. You'll be good friends with the king. So what? It's going to shtel. Unless you want to be a second to the king. But I'm saying a regular person, what does he need to be the king for? What does he need the king for? He needs the place to take fight off a ticket that he got. So he has to be busy with playing a mention. So there in the mashal, the chilek is what you're looking for. That's what the Rebbe starts going on. What I'm trying to say is we're not saying what we said before. It's ein mile was a yid hat as a rad seichel was a gehadish. Means he sees pnimis. That's a mile. But nicht in dem besteht the core mile of what a yid is. The Medrash says that Ashri Yom Shekach Halei. The Medrash comes to say Chalke Vayar Nafsh the mile of a yid. Nicht in dem besteht the mile of a yid. As versteht das. The mile of a yid is different. The Rebbe is later going to connect all these points. But first we're starting to build in such a way. Nicht in dem besteht the mile of a yid. That's what we're saying. So in the mashal, Medrash, the mashal, the Stabber Levi Shem Chirvan Dorsen, you can't only come to Shpi Yisrael Shbachar. To like about Nimshah Shah, Veda Lakum, Veda El Islam, Mechshin Abadi Bchir. So from them versteht man move on, there is a going to buy back to the mashal, Shezeh Shah Pikach or another Samalka. Why is there another Samalka? And what the mention? V'Shavedas HaMelech Yichshu Be'etzle, Yesim At El Shil El Yasar. he's not thinking about the benefit that he could have. Serving the king, he should worship someone that's right to worship, and them as a Mernegeh, then he should have more hashpah. We're going to see later on, I'm just saying, it says, this is a Friedrich Rebbe, I think it says, I don't remember, the Friedrich Rebbe says it says that about Mordechai, that Leikom v'lizom imenu. Leikom v'lizom, he didn't stand up and he didn't shiver. So Friedrich Rebbe says, Kimo means hidur, covet. And Za means afraid. From power you're afraid. And covet, hadar, kom, kimo, hidur, you give to someone that. So Mordechai, these two Tiyurim show his Yerushalayim also and his honesty, his ehrlichkeit. I don't know if he was Lashon, but the fact that he wasn't mechabed him, it didn't hold of him that he's a big guy. But a guy has money, mit dem Mann, he don't mechabed sein, if you nicht gehabt der paar Dollar, was nicht mechabed sein, was mit dem Mann ist mechabed. But the point when people, so Mordechai was straightforward, honest. I asked all the power, he's the big mach, he wasn't mechabed. That shows on his ordentlichkeit, if you guys have Salosh. And so, I say Yerushalayim, whatever, he wasn't afraid. He had power, so that he wasn't afraid. But Kovid, so I'm saying, why am I saying this? That I'm saying is that the Pikach, the way they're saying it here, he could get to Elis from the start, he could get to Elis. But I'm not going to go, but he's not going to be false. The attach is deeper now. I'm just saying that he's not going to go worship someone and be misbattled to someone that doesn't, the emes deserve to be served. He's not going to do a tnuah which is not emes in order for him to get benefit. He can get benefit from so what's the problem? When it's a melech, they never touch much more. That didn't to serve the king. But there's a word here also that he's not going to go serve someone which is not emes. You're serving him not because you really believe that this person deserves to be he has no mind of that. In order to get ashpa, you're serving him. So the marshal, the pikach, he doesn't play chamfera. He's not going to.
Pikach doesn't mean smart, it means someone with dignity.
Yeah, they're not much deeper. I'm just saying,
I'm saying as of now, that's.
Yeah, that doesn't patch up. To serve the melech, you can touch it. There's honesty or he has true values. Mashiach, the doesn't care about values. So whatever's going to work for him, he's going to do. Whatever you need to do. But there attaches us after Tishman. Mizem moving on by name show the Ikar Tam, as the Shumazel Yet Mechamul Von. Yisrael didn't need to know that the Shbor, who lame the Shumazel not because he thought. That's not what you say. Lame the Shumazel will claim Shakum about the Khir, Yisrael Yedim Sam, Shimaki and Chizan is making a mistake in Cheshbon. Elo, the Shad is, what are you looking for? What's your main goal in life? The Shumazel, the Ikar es Moshik Habu Ashpa, but Yisrael, but Ikar Ulabat Samar. What the Rebbe comes to explain right away, the Rebbe is going to get to. But the Rebbe is first going to explain, you cannot get ashpa from the Kehani. In the Mashal says, where do you see them in the Nimshal? The fact that he is serving the Eibush there is because Emizmer Negea Haben HaShaychas with the Emes, then having a good life. Where do you see that? But the Eibush, the good life is from him too. So the Rebbe is continuing to explain that it's not so simple. To live a good life, klippis are a better resource. The male is mechuva, the mashal of the Nimshal. But before then, what's the Kufa the Rebbe says? The Rambam steht l'chore in Pashtus. They say that Torah began mitzad the way they understood reality. B'chitzeni is the reality bias. The Rebbe said before. B'chitzeni is bias that the world is ran through Mitzrayim. So they weren't looking for themselves. They were looking for the truth. And they came to recognition that there's someone else to thank besides for the English. They have to thank also the Yishem Shireh. Those are the Rebbe's Nishtas. That's not the Yisrael. The fact that Yisrael make the mistake, it led the Yisrael to take the that Ba'al B'chira and didn't know the truth. The Yisrael had Iker Esna Moshe Kabel Ashpa. Basically, Yisrael the Iker Ulav B'Tzanel. Why are they going to think that way? There's an Eibush that created the world, you're serving Matzah. What's making you think? There's a shayrish of a Torah doesn't begin because in Shrai Seichel they came to the Maskana that we have to give a Karas Atayv to the Shamashir. It began because they weren't happy. Or not, you say, why is someone trying to find fairness in something? Because you don't want the thing the way it is. So the pile, you start denying it. Why are you starting to deny it? Because you're missing it, because you're not interested in it. The reason why they were looking at the Eibush is not the full balabas. Why you should not because of Seichel, they objectively came to the conclusion the Eibush is not the full balabas. Because that's a gebadet. They were looking for some other resource. The Eibush wasn't. They didn't want him in Kabbalah because they weren't interested. They wanted to live a good life, and to live a good life, the truth bothers. But that's the premise of where it came from that they started making cheshbonos. So it's nicht angeben for reiner verstand. That's what it brings here from Arda 26. Yeah. It says l'har in the Sefer Ramot Havish Bevav shemedaber shel menina eschak mas beisik sheduk masamishtach kol b'chov mazolos. Someone that is mischak in beisik. So the Gemara says someone that bows down to b'chov mazolos, and someone that slicks on kaparai and he thinks tachbulis of how to make money. So he's bowing his head to the chuketa. He believes, why is he being mischakim to find these? Because he believes that through having a good business, he's able to get ashpa. So who gets the chuketa giving the ashpa? It's not a regular Muslim Zarda. There's no entity. It's not that you're serving a certain creature. It's a system. I'm saying but in Mahos, it's the same concept of the Zarda. Someone that's, I'm saying, two reasons why people, it's not like they have an opinion. The pile, whatever the beard is, but besides that, it's not Mamshek Mizrach Halach. It's not like there's a mitzvahs of a nivra of an asik that you're worshiping. But so there's other in you think that there's a certain you created a system, and whoever has better ideas and better shtitzlach, that's going to bring more ashpa. That's the same concept of the Zara. And the figure said being mischakim, and I'm talking to bullets. You're lowering your head to appease the chukya teva, the business darkness. That's a dumasamishtach to come mazal. Das sagt er, das Hemsch Chayin Sham, Kol Machshavais and Rakal Tevis Asi. Kolim Gufa Yehim Yom Rechush. The Mizem Hashim Shalei Kam Machshav and Negei Sibas Abarnas. Why? The fact that he wants money. The traveling is Zich. The Gam HaMachshav Rakal Tevis Asi and Negei Sibas Abarnas. That's a bit of so. The three was coming to him in Dan, Yidus liegt in Eis, Tavi the Zor. Says, I mentioned the Eis, Tachtel is Zich. And maybe the Zor Tachtel is Zich, Bechor Tachtel is Zich, tracht very the Nemeser the Mashpia. He's not thinking about the true Mashpia. So first,
why is this a higher tifrin in the Pikos? They're deciding not to be a Pikos over here. It's lower.
So what is a person looking? That's not a question. According to before, two people looking for the same values of life. What's the purpose of life? They're saying till now, to live a good life. The Kabbalah Shpur. To live and to enjoy and also thank God. It's 11. The Shaila is, why is the Yitzhak of the Eibishter? Because he's the source of life. So there's no chilik mohos between Yid and a God. But Seichel doesn't mean that he understands things better. That's not a true mind of Pigach. True mind of Pigach is that his values of life are not based on a true meaning. There isn't that job. We're going to go back to Pinchos. But the mind of Seichel is not just that you understand the better cheshbon. You know better. That's a chitzed is the kamayla. The guy with the Rebbe's speak Danish. The mahus is different. What they're searching for is different. What they're miyakir is different. What's precious by them is different. It's going to be before, but both the same people. Both are looking for the same thing. Chayim, Solev, and Savim. The guy makes a technical cheshbon. Pashut is misunderstanding, misreading the mitzvahs. That's not an essential gam. Misreading the mitzvahs. Aaron versteht besser, versteht whereas that's not a chilik of Moses. The Rebbe is saying that the reason why the management of Mashal tell you that the difference in a Yid and a Goy is a difference in what they consider important. And what their focus in life is. What's suchen sie? The Pika hat nicht gesucht to have a comfortable life. He wanted to have a shachas to the truth. He wants to serve the Melech, have a shachas to them. I see that them custom. Life is not going to be easy. It's not negay, but his life. It's negay to him to be connected to them. Whatever the emes is going to cost. That's not what he's thinking about. What's it going to cost him? He's looking for the truth. Mashiach, a goy, because it's negay himself, he's trying to find ways to deny the Eibush. Which doesn't explain that he has good svaras why to deny the Eibush. Es taki cost in order to be a yid. It's nicht kein geringe Sache. But du bist like the marshal nicht kein geringe Sache.
Caring for the truth is a mile on seichel or a mile on midas?
We're going to see. But it's not a matter of midas. Midas is just what seichel, midas doesn't decide for you what's good or what's not good. It's a very important point. But midas is not the thing that is the factor which is gewähr what's good, what's not good. Seichel is the one that tells you what's good. The emotion towards it, that's midas. Midas is not the one that introduced to you, this is the thing that's worth loving. That's not what midas is. A type is not the I feel a type the first your mind finds out that this thing is a good thing, and then you like it. Your heart is not the one that tells you that it's good. Whatever it is.
It's in this Nikulah that a person should be selfish and self-serving, but
The awareness that, no, it's not a question. The Rebbe is not speaking about mitzvah Kabbalah sel. You shouldn't be self-service. Person comes to the recognition that the purpose of life is not for my enjoyment. The purpose of life is, it's more precious, it's more important to connect to the truth, and the importance is not to have a good life. Where does that come from? That's a true, because he's not stuck within himself. You're going into how it has this hard to start with seichel versus midas. We'll see that. What I'm saying is, you're saying what's do seichel midas? Someone that tachveis alakus is married by him somehow. The Rebbe is saying no. The Rebbe is saying here is a human being is someone that doesn't decide his life according to what feels good for him. He decides his life based on what his seichel comes to the conclusion what the truth is, without the involvement of himself. Okay, the Rebbe is self.
that's the pickles.
Pickles, seichel. Okay, the Rebbe is going to explain that. The whole Maimer is an important point. The Rebbe of the Maimer is not speaking about the whole Maimer that is speaking in the Maimer. The Rebbe connects to the Neshama, but it's about that the Yid is a pikach. Means that his life is not mevusas on midas or on hergesh atzmi. It's mevusas on what the emes is, and that's the midas in what seichel. The seichel is a person's ability to understand what the truth is, what the objective truth is, not what suits for me. What's the keich haseichel? Not there's one. You see the keich haseichel is the afresh and kompul. That's not the mukos. There's two attitudes towards living or towards mitzvahs. One attitude is there's me. Whatever works for me, I'm gonna go. That's mitzvahs. You don't evaluate the quality of the thing objectively. It's what type of impression does this thing make on me. It's scary for me. It's not scary for me. So midas is all a person's relation to something, the way the thing relates to him. Seichel is the ability of a person to vergessen the Gesicht and to reinklären, what's the emes? What's the truth? You say, technically, you want to learn the sukkah, what's the true pshat in the sukkah? And more, in a broader way, what's truly important? Not to be made at what's important according to what's going to suit me. What's objectively important? What's objectively important? That's the true of Seichel. If you look at Seichel as a broader toy fan of evaluating what's important to life. So, the fact that one person values himself and the other person, what the value is not himself, the emes. They want to hear it because his values in life are based on seichel, based on an objective understanding what's the emes real, what's the emes true, not what suits me. That's the true of midas. I'm defining what's true and what's real according to what suits me. Seichel is I'm defining what's true and what's real and what's precious according to what's objectively precious. The Rebbe shvedder forbids with the Neshama. The Rebbe says later the reason why Yid his seichel could work. The Rebbe says later in the Maimer that a seichel and nifla is meshulach. Even though seichel in Yoni is to investigate and to get to the bottom of what the truth is, and he's looking for what's important. The person's deciding what should I dedicate my life to? What should be important? So if it's based on midas, what's important is what's going to suit me. If it's seichel, I'm going to think what's objectively important. The Rebbe says that seichel and nushim is a mishul. At the end of the day, seichel is a keich for the sake of the person. So seichel, even though in Yoni of seichel is to understand the reality the way it is, you're not going to understand the reality the way it is with sister to you. That's the Rebbe says later. And I hear that Rebbe says it because he has a shop. That's the Rebbe says later. You know this. I go ahead to Shlomo says, I'm sorry, a regular emes is seichel be'etzem is a keich in order to get to the bottom of what the truth is, whether it suits me or not. But l'payel, a person which is a mitzias, at the end of the day, the base is himself. all the keiches that you have are all the extension of your mitzvahs. You have keiches seichel in order to improve your life. So your seichel is always it's never gonna be fully objective when it comes to trying to figure out what's the real purpose of life. It's not going to be mechayiv something that's not going to be good for you. Because it's different. A yid is another zach, not a shemitzis. A yid can live in the nose. Not the nishta can live inside the nisham. A yid mitzad v'skei ha-seichel can live against the nose. Yeah, finish this question. We're saying a little bit weiter what's going on. So we should skip this thing and say we're already speaking about it. Okay, we'll not just agree. But anyway, who the ikra tamat shot will call myself more about Russian. Shidra is explaining in a way, as I think is that Rebbe is explaining here that they wanted to become a chayv. What do we say? They say there's not a mistake in chayv because he wanted life. He wanted life. Allah is sure the Eibush is the only source of life. If you say there's a mistake in chayv, but the other say they didn't make a mistake in chayv. So if they said they wanted life, at the moment they didn't make it. Then so the Rebbe is nicht das. Ich hatte was schon gekommen, man soll das nur bei Drushim, because we didn't have much more Makdus of this bit. Verliest the Rotz of Vatel Asatz noch begin other couples as misty. Jetzt nicht das Post. The Kabbalah Shpomim in Sarah bit. You see that brings later there like in the muscle. You say another beer, someone if you be connected to a lower rank, so you don't have to be so sensitive every word that you say, you don't have to you can be more free, more English. Someone that wants to shaykhs to the melech, you want to relate to the king, it's not so much. Every movement is a risk. So then it said, yeah, some shaykhs because you have to have bittul, there's time, you have to be keli for because the case is it. Mashenkin, kichav mazolis is the answer of the bittul. This is the answer of myself is down to the big Tanya. Nechol mitzrayim chinam. Shom, who is it chinam? Inzach. Nachazach sagt der Rebbe, the 8 times the Shos L'Chav HaShavos Kichav mazolis. Besides the fact that that's what you get, by Kedusha there's a Tanai that you have to be worthy of it. You have to earn it. Mashiach, in Klippa, you don't have to earn anything. Chinam, Nachazach, Hashpa Atzma Higdelius. Nach die ganze Bittel, the Hashpa doesn't work so much.
Is this to be mastic the Cheshbon of the Muslim?
Yes. The Rebbe is saying that the saying is not because they made a mistake in Cheshbon. Yeah. Because they're looking for themselves. They're looking for themselves. The Eibush is a makrata. The Eibush is very difficult to deal with. Minor Kabbalah Shvar from Lakus, you have to be bottled. And it's nimshach, very measured. Mashiach Umas Ha'elam, they don't have to be bottled. And the Ashpa is nimshach in a way of people. It's not Zachim, again, of it, the put. It says, Kigam Ashpa, Asmin Dilis, you can't use the Rachel and Magam Shaman and Yishlashmas. Ashpa, Mishal Mishal, the Rebbe gives a beer water. What's the yichus of Sitra Achra? That it's not shpia blikvol. The Eibush is blikvol. But this is already the deeper area that's board of Chassidus. From the Shmeidas on Azifol. Was the board of Chassidus. Man and Take kriegen Umasel Hashpa. So the difference is a Rab, the Malam Shefel, the Talmidei, or Hashpa Pnimis. When you're giving someone because the other person is, because you want him to have. So then it's according to how much is worthy of it, how much is right, whether he's worthy. So it's going to be with something. The Shemesh is not shpia ever called it. Why is it? Because he feels that this place is worthy of having light. The Shemesh is not thinking about the Makabah. The Shemesh is bleakful. He's just fashion. He's not thinking about the Makabah. The Ashpat, from man stammt, they're speaking not the moments in the Nutzai and Cheshbenis. From man stammt is that Klippus and Yeshes have chayis. Because the Eibush is bleakful. And Mitzad is bleakful, he's mashpiyah, not because the Makabah is worthy of chayis. They get their source, they're reading from a different Akuddah. Not because they are Kalim to chayis. They're not Kalim to chayis. Chayis Telakus. They're not Kalim Telakus. From Vanik Krieg 11, from a different kind. The Eibush is bleak full, so he's misfashioned the whole He doesn't need Kalim. Something that has an energy without Hagbalis does not need Kalim in order to be an energy. That's the marker where Sitra Achra get the Ashpa. Ashpa Misham Mishalei Apetech. And Ashpa B'di B'God. So the Nakud is one Nakud. Elukus, Chayis is Atam Deik Mashal Nakev Chaim Kol Chmoyim. Elukus is Chayim. The eighth Ashpa from Tikdusha is in a way that the Nekabel is a keli to the Chayis. And he suits the Chayis. And you bittle that you have to be behesed to the Chayis. And then you get according to how much you're a keli. Mashiach, the Klippis are not keli. So Vana Tvamas 11. Because Al Derech, the Shemesh is Mashpia Eir. Because what do you say that Ashpa? That the Mashpia steht in Eis Pashtos, the male is nicht Shalachal Makim. So Al Derech says the Makar Ashpa from Chinas Kesef, from Chinas Makim. In other words, the Eivish just gewollt to be a Sas Tzart Ashpa, which shouldn't be defined and it shouldn't be focused on that they're the Mekabel are right for this Ashpa. The Ashpa isn't said physically full. So that's where they're Mekabel Ashpa. They're Mekabel Ashpa, so Mele Ashpa, so we very even. This is what they're saying in the Yom HaMitim. I'm saying this is fact. So we then move on huh? Huh? Nothing to do with the Zara, no. Nothing to do with the Zara. This is everything from here is B'shtalsh. Kedusha is an issue. Why in a couple of Kedusha, you have to be a kid to tell the Kedusha. So they don't want that. The main ones are only going to track that the Etzem of the Kedusha, the Eivish is not the only thing that's Mumutzayim. They're saying now B'chsidis, a deeper meaning. B'chsidis, forget about Mumutzayim. There's a Ashpa to Klippus, to Yeshes, to Klippus, and there's a Ashpa to Kedusha. That comes from two different inyanim, so to speak, in the Kedusha. The Ashpa to Kedusha is because the Mekabel is worthy of the Ashpa. He's a keli to the Ashpa. And therefore there's a Ashpa Pnimis. There's another type of Ashpa. He's Mashpia to Mekabel, not because the Mekabel is worthy, because he's big full. And maybe he's Mishpash to Kol Makim. Like the Shemesh, is the fact that there's light going to some corner and he's making light in a room that it's better not to see what's going on with it. The Shemesh is not thinking about that room. The Shemesh has light on Akbalas. And Mamela is Nimshal Chamakim. It's misal his big vol, his expressions. From dort and kriegt Klippe. Does not do with Mitzvah, that I'm saying. That's the Yisrael HaPnimi of Goy, why Goy did not want to be Makir, that the source of everything is Lukus.
This time tell us something.
The Melams, they only, this is a beer or wine, they don't like Lukus. The Melam, they started finding Hetzdakas, obviously, also. That's what I was saying before. The Pnimius is because they weren't happy serving the Eberstein. Right? What's wrong with serving the Eberstein? Because you have to be different. If you want to have Ashpa from the Lakus Bigila, you have to be bottom. Guess that I mean, don't worry. Okay, we'll do this part.